In this lesson, we're going to begin blocking in the terrain. Alright, so in the last lesson we went ahead and we applied a texture to our terrain, and now we're ready to begin blocking it out and getting the exact shape that we want. So the way I'm going to start this out is I'm going to start right here in this area, and you'll see that on this height map I deliberately created just kind of a flat spot, so that way we knew where to start out at. Now, where this is going to be located on our level, let's go ahead and bring up our level layout image here. This is actually going to be located right in here, and we're going to begin blocking out in this area, and we'll kind of come up and around this area that's kind of a little bit higher elevation, and we'll come in and we'll start to make all these little details, and we'll make this pathway that comes up across the top of this ridge here. And then we'll get into the village area and we'll start to block that out as well. So let's just kind of put this off to the side, and if you want to keep that up on your computer, you can kind of see how we're creating this. And what I want to do is just kind of pull way back, just looking straight down at my level and just pulling back. And I just kind of want to see what I'm going to be doing at this point, just kind of visualizing this. And I'm going to go ahead and go back down to where I can see it a little bit easier, and let's start to paint in our area. So right now I have this flat spot, and I know that I want that to be that lower level, and I could actually use this ridge here to be where that cave is supposed to be. So we'll kind of create some vegetation up in this area, and we'll make this kind of around where the field's supposed to be. And up in this area across maybe the top of this ridge, we could do like the mountain, or I'm sorry, the village area. And then we'll make our pathway come right across up in this area. And we'll create probably a new ridge for that to rest on. So we'll be reshaping this quite a bit. But like I said, what I like to do first is just kind of paint in what I want to be changing. So let's create a new texture, and let's add a layer. And I'm going to add rename this. I'm going to call this dry grass. And let's come in here and let's change our material. Let's go to terrain. Let's choose another grass here. And I'm thinking maybe grass 2. Let's go grass 5. I think grass 5 is going to be really good for us. So let's go ahead and choose that. Let's assign material. Let's make sure that we add the right layer, our texture layer there. Let's make sure we add gray.dds, and let's close this and this as well. Let's go to our layer painter under our terrain panel. So there's layer painter, and we're under dry grass. Let's change that color. Let's go to something that is a little more on the brown side, kind of like what our mountain looks like. And let's just kind of put down a little spot test of what this is going to look like. So you can see here we have a different grass, but it's really not a different color. So let's change that up some more. Let's go a little bit more into the brown, a little lighter. And you'll see that that's kind of red. And I haven't hit apply yet because I'm just trying to test out some colors here. So just kind of looking around, trying to get something. Go a little bit lighter on that. And I think I can live with that color there. I think that'll stand out enough for us here. Alright, so let's get in and let's start to paint in the shape here. Now what I'm going to be painting in this specific lesson is going to be probably just this area right in here, and then we'll come up across the top. Now it kind of looks like a person here. It kind of looks like an arm is raised up in here, and then an arm is down in here, and here's the head, that sort of thing. So if that helps you with the shape of this, you can always use that. So let's just paint in, let's say this arm here, this little horseshoe shape. So I'm going to come in and just get a little bit above here, just kind of visualizing what it looks like. And I could actually use a pen to paint this in, so that's actually what I'm going to be doing, just painting this in. Now this doesn't have pressure sensitivity or anything like that. It's just a little bit easier for me to draw or paint this in. So I know I have that corner. Let's come around and let's start to paint this higher area. Now, like what I'm doing here is I'm just getting ready for the sculpting part of blocking in this level. At this point, we're just trying to get a good visualization of where the boundaries are and where we want to actually be building. Okay. So just continue to block this out. I'm just taking a look at my image here. Okay, so let's continue painting this out here. So once we get into some of these areas that are a little larger, you know, we could get a little less, be a little less careful with this. Like I said, we're just trying to get a feel for where we're going to be building this level, not necessarily trying to be perfect at this point. All right. Now I can see a little bit here, the haze is starting to get a little carried away. Can't really see it all that well sometimes. Well, let's go ahead and just bring this area up in here. And this is going to change a little bit because as we begin to work out more of the details and we start to play test this, you know, level design is constantly changing. It's not anything that's really set in stone all the time. Our designs, whenever we draw or we begin sculpting something in another software package, we don't just start out with the finest details and work from there. We start out by just blocking in the major masses of an object, and this is really anything that you do artistically in any sort of design. Okay, so don't be discouraged by just trying to get a general shape. And more often than not, if I don't necessarily have a plan that is set in stone, I normally just kind of wing it and go with it. And if it looks good, why not use it? Now, there does come a point where you have to figure out if your design element does have a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, then sometimes it may just need to be excluded. Okay, but there's nothing wrong with just getting ideas down because you can always change those. Okay, so I'm just trying to get the general shape. Right now I'm kind of working on that tail end there, not necessarily worrying about that deadline section. Okay, and what I'm talking about is this gray area. Okay, now the deadline, that's not any practical term or anything like that. That just kind of went along with the story that I had developed with this level once I was creating it. And like I said, in level design, get an idea together, just kind of put together a short story and build a level around that. I really find that very interesting, and you know, it's something that I really care about, and I want to see something come to fruition. So many times have I just started a project and just trying to, you know, boost up my portfolio or something like that, and I just pull out an image or just try to pull an idea out of the air and try to work with it, and I'm just not feeling it. It doesn't really work, and a lot of times it just kind of falls apart. So, like I said, just really come up with a story, find something that you care about, and really develop it before you start building like a level or something like this. Now I'm going to bump up my radius on this painter, and I'm going to hit the curly bracket, or the right curly bracket that's directly below the plus and equal key on your keyboard. And that should change the radius on that. Now if that doesn't change it, you could hit the plus sign on your number key, and usually that will work. Okay. And I said curly bracket. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm getting Photoshop coordinate or keyboard shortcuts mixed up. It is the plus and minus, and you can actually see some shortcuts right down here along your status line. Okay. Now you can see there that we can pick a layer ID, so we can actually begin to paint with the grass by holding down Control and choosing that. You see how it's switched over to grass here, but we want dry grass. All right, let's finish this up really quickly with painting that last portion that comes up this ridge line here. So we're going to come right up in here, just kind of get this blocked in. And it kind of looks like an arm extending out, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Just a really rough looking shape here. And as we begin to develop this, it's going to be a lot easier. Alright, so we've got the textures the area kind of blocked out here on what we want to create. So let's start to get our elevations and blocking in the actual terrain itself and start to sculpt that out, getting a few more finer details. Alright, so we'll start that in our next lesson.